Welcome to the program. In Pursuit of Roots, the cultural program of community media. All of us have heard about the mighty Roman Empire of ancient times. Apart from their political relevance and cultural aspect, the ancient Rome was a trade hub, trade center. They had trade with India even from the ancient times. Let us today hear from our Mohan sir the details about Indo-Roman trade years back, thousands of years back.
Yes,
First of all, let me ask one thing. Did we Indians have any other trade before Roman trade of ancient times?
when we say Roman trade, the period is the juncture between AD and BC.
Oh,
The first century BC, the first, second, and third century AD. Those 4 centuries were the peak of the Roman trade.
ah,
Before that, Rome did not have direct trade with India. But there were Mediterranean people, mostly Arabs
Arabs.
from North Africa and West Asia, traded with India, mostly spices.
Spices.
So Roman trade was necessitated by the avariciousness of the Arabs.
Oh,
The Arab traders used to pick commodities from here, purchase spices and other commodities from here, would take them to the Mediterranean region and sell, making a killing, huge profit.
you mean they exploited us?
They exploited the Romans.
Exploited
They did not
Romans?
exploit India.
Ah.
They did not exploit Kerala. They made money. These are all natural resources grown here.
Ah,
So they would be giving normal prices, sufficient, rates.
ah, ah.
But when they take it in Arab ships to the Mediterranean centers of consumption,
Ah.
mostly in the Roman Empire,
Oh,
they would get almost 10 to 20 times profit.
oh.
Several items even had more than 50 times the profit. That is a huge profit. So Roman exchequer was bleeding, in fact.
Oh,
Rome had a very, very unfavorable trade balance with India.
oh.
So they wanted to, that is one of the reasons why the Roman Empire wanted to have a direct trade with India, avoiding the Arab intermediaries. So that is how the Roman trade happened, the first century BC.
So, which part of India they preferred? The Roman traders preferred first.
In fact, the Roman trade with the southern part of India, which is Kerala, started later.
Oh,
The first destination was the North Indian, today's Pakistani side, the Indus belt. Roman traders would reach
Ah,
the Indus river mouth,
ah.
currently located in Pakistan. But those days it was not called either India or Pakistan.
Oh.
It was the geographical India.
Indian
Those
Peninsula.
Indian Peninsula, yeah. So they would come there using a different route altogether. There was a dramatic event. One Indian sailor was caught by Ptolemy's henchmen.
Ah,
Ptolemy was the ruler of Egypt.
Egypt.
After the collapse of Alexander's system, after the death of Alexander, Ptolemy was the leader which ruled Egypt.
Ruler of
Yeah, ruler of Egypt. Ptolemaic times, there was around 120 BC, second century BC, an Indian mariner was caught in the high sea by these Ptolemy soldiers, sailors, and they took them to Alexandria, interrogated him. Then they got the shocking news that there exists certain trade routes along the sea, certain strategic routes using the trade wind, which Indians could be using. Arabs always knew, but the Romans never knew that. Therefore, it was a great knowledge. That knowledge was used later by the Romans to get access to the Indus river mouth. But mostly, they traveled straight from the bottom of the Arabian Peninsula, straight to the Indus mouth. But that is not the route which the later period Romans took to reach Kerala. That's a different route altogether.
When they moved to southern part, old ancient Tamil Nadu including Kerala.
That happened a little later, around 31 BC, the first century BC. Octavian Caesar captured the northern part of Arabia, the northern part of Egypt, and conquered, including Alexandria. That opened up the Roman trade. That's the first time the real Roman trade with southern India, that is Tamil Nadu, took place, including Kerala, that is the ancient Chera kingdom, and present day Tamil Nadu, that include the Chola and Pandya kingdoms. Roman trade happened roughly around that time. That is the time when around BC 44, 45 is the time when a Greek mariner, Hippolytus, invented the trade wind, about which we mentioned in another episode regarding the route. So using the favorable monsoon wind, they set sail by late July, August. They reach here, Roman ships reach here by September and stay here to collect materials for trade, and then get back by October, November. They start sailing back in November. So that is a brief period of 2 or 3 months that the Romans stayed here in Kerala. Say, August, the month of August, the month of September. They would be high. This is a nice climate here, August, September time.
The vessels involved in the trade were mostly Roman ships.
Mostly Roman ships. Earlier it was Arab ships, later it was Roman ships. Rome built a number of, once Yutimon Arabia was conquered by the Romans, and North Africa completely under Caesar. A large number of ports were built all along the Red Sea coast. That included Meos Hormuz and Bernike and so many other areas in Arabia and also in Egypt, and also in eastern part of Sudan and Somalia. Number of ports came up. All these ports were managed by the Romans, and those ports were the centers of trade also.
They built the ships there.
They built ships. They built Roman ships using maybe timber from elsewhere.
That I will ask another question. In addition to the riches they take from here, the ships came with their commodities, I think.
Yes.
They might have brought something here.
Yes, trade is always two-way.
Two-way system is trade.
Trade is the two-way. Romans had things to bring here that included something for them when they come to a very hostile and alien land. They have to eat, they have to dress.
Oh,
So Romans, for their own purpose,
their own habit is different from ours.
their eating habit, they are wheat and corn eaters,
Not rice.
not at all rice. And here in Kerala, ancient Tamilagam, people used to eat rice items.
Mainly.
So it's not so palatable to them. So they bring wheat, either whole wheat or wheat flour,
Oh.
and corn and maize and all these things, food materials.
Ah.
Then comes the liquid items.
Oh.
Oil, cooking medium was olive oil for them.
Olive for them.
Olive oil.
Instead of our coconut oil.
Coconut oil, they may not use coconut oil. It is, it may not be very much conducive for their health concerns. Therefore, they used to bring not only oil, they would bring fish extracts.
Oh. All these things
Fish oil.
uses the jar.
In jar called amphora.
Amphora. You mentioned it.
In another episode, we mentioned about jars and containers,
Containers.
beautifully shaped amphora, both terracotta and also porcelain,
Porcelain.
Chinaware,
Okay.
brought by the Romans here, and thousands of pieces of amphora recovered and excavated from major Cheddar ports recently. So that confirms the fact that these liquid items were brought. Oil, various kinds of oil, and also special. Which one?
Wheat and other corn.
Wheat and other things. That wheat would not come in amphora. Wheat would be coming in sacks and all that. And certainly wine.
Wine.
Exotic varieties of wine brought in amphora. And fish oil, like what I said, brought. So those were the liquid items.
Liquid items.
Apart from the liquid items and the food item, Romans used to bring metal in a large quantity.
Oh.
Iron,
Ah.
copper, steel,
Oh.
and also that is needed for making implements, agricultural
Implements.
implements, weapons. They may not bring weapons as such, they can use the blacksmiths to make weapons right here.
Ah.
Even they sell iron. So here, it was not known for iron ore and iron mining. It was not very much available over here in Tamil Nadu. So iron came from lead. Okay, and mirrors, glassware.
Glasswares.
Nothing was available here. They all were brought to some of the cosmetic items, some of the perfumes that they brought, and of course the silk. It is not Roman silk, it is Chinese silk reaching Rome by the Chinese trade route.
Oh.
That is the silk route all along the land from the east, north of Himalaya, the hills leading to the highways, the ancient trade highways leading to the Mediterranean region. So those silk items, and they apply dye
Nice.
and make it into exotic varieties of clothes. Mostly just plain clothes with dye applied.
Oh.
They bring it here to be presented to high class people. Sometimes as gift, sometimes as saleable commodity. But there was one more thing that they would bring. They would bring girls for to be presented as gifts to Kuttuvan, the king. And these call girls, or in fact concubines, and the cheer girls, or whatever, whichever be the nature of the girls, it is basically a flesh trade.
Flesh trade.
It was trade, yeah. And they were called Haithera.
Haithera.
These girls were called Haithera.
Which language?
Haithera is Roman, it looks like Latin. It's like a Latin base, Hytera were brought. And hundreds of girls. And they would invariably be constituting the harem of Kutuvan kings. Not only Kutuvan, Pandyan and Cholan also would be supplied to these girls. Beautiful wheat-colored skinned girls from Mediterranean region, from North Africa, from Southern Europe, from West Asian region. These girls would be brought.
And along with that, the coins also they brought.
Coins they bring not
That's
trade. This has price, price for spices and commodities purchased from here.
Oh.
They always bring the richest called coins.
So there were
Gold
coins also.
Yeah, Sester says a Roman coin.
Oh.
Dinar is a
Dinar.
Roman dinar. Dinarum, they say here. These coins were brought in bulk, and there was a Roman mint located in Pandya kingdom, present-day Tamil Nadu, historians say. And also there was a Roman colony located in Osiris. There was a Roman temple, there was an Augustus temple in Osiris. So Roman settlements were here.
So for a long period they lingered here.
They would hang around here for 2 months, and some people live on until the next batch come. Because they stay on because they have to collect spices. Spices keep trickling in from the hills. The spices come along the rivers and lakes, and they will be stored in Pantakashala. That is the warehouses. Go down. And these spices will wait for the Roman ships to arrive by late July or mid-August. So they would stack it in ship deck, and once the ship is loaded completely, they set off.
So the trade contain exporter, importer equally. Then
it's not equally. Actually, when compared to the imports, the exports were 4 times more, maybe even more than 4 times. So Chera kingdom, Pandya kingdom, and Ai kingdom, and the Chola kingdom had riches to export. So trade, we were dealing with only the imports, the Roman imports to Kerala. Kerala used to export things.
So in addition to the abundance of spices, which were the materials or items, the commodities?
Basically, it is spices. 75% of the items traded, and maybe around 70-80% of the worth of trade was certainly spices. That include cardamom, ginger, cinnamon, and pepper. We will earmark an episode exclusively for the spices. Not only the Roman trade, but also the spices of Kerala, how Kerala made the most of it using the spice trade. And we will set it aside for another episode.
Probably next episode.
Maybe next episode we can contemplate. This one I would like to give a fair idea about the items other than spices. Items other than spices were some of the items were unthinkable. Turtle shells, tortoise, the shell of tortoise, and ivory,
tusk of
elephant tusk called ivory in large quantity exported, and some of the animals, some of the exports included animals alive, that is the monkeys and peacock and snakes. Bible gives, I don't know how far you can take Bible as a pure historic document, but Bible mentions about in the book of Kings, Bible mentions about the olden days, that is pre-Roman days, the from Ophir and Tarshish. Presumably, the Ophir and Tarshish are Kerala ports. The King Solomon's ships would come from the Mediterranean region right to this area, this land called the Chera land, to take away Dandam, that is the tusk, elephant tusk, ivory, and Mail, which means peacock, and Kurenda, which means monkey.
What do you
And
say?
Sarpam, that's a snake.
That's for
So that is the solid. But Roman, we have no idea. Apart from ivory, we have no idea about Romans taking away these things. Of course, maybe Romans also had a fantasy value, peacock, a feather.
That's
Very nice and all that.
That's good.
Awesome.
What use they had with monkeys?
Monkeys maybe as a for tricks and fancy animal. For jumping about, maybe for some medical use also. Carrying Kurandi Rasayana be something which is extract of monkey. It is a formula. It's a health Ayurvedic drink. Yeah. It's a drink. It's a health material. So Romans, we have no proof to suggest that Romans are using it, but possible that monkeys would be having some use for that. Maybe circus-like things.
Ancient Kerala was full of huge trees. Did we have a timber trade here with them?
Of course, timber. Kerala was it's called God's own country because of the lush greenery, the foliage. Always, wherever you turn, you see huge trees. Very good climate and wet land, everything very much ideal for growth of huge trees. And teak tree is those days, that means the Roman trade days of 2000 years back, teak would be growing possibly only in present-day Kerala part, nowhere else. So teak tree, the pieces of teak wood extracted, excavated from various places in the Mediterranean belt, including Mios, Hormuz and Coptos. That means fair enough indication that 2000 years back, Romans would be taking away teak tree. And rosewood, seen in, that is ET in Malayalam, we call it ET, rosewood, also is an export item. Kadintali, a very good black wood, which is good for furniture making. Ebony, they say, Malabar ebony, they call it. That is used, that used to be exported, especially Malabar variety. So those were the items. But so this wood would be brought from the hills along the river. They flow. All the rivers in Kerala flow westwards. They originate in the western Ghats in the east and they flow westwards. The wood would be, lumps of wood would be coming either along the raft or just like wood into the ports. Chera ports, Pandya ports. And they go into the ship. They won't be lifted and put in the ships.
Not loading.
Not loading. They just flow into the push it underneath the ship's submarine part. Submerged on the ship below the water level, so that ship can be balanced. Say, remember, Romans would bring heavy items, including the iron and steel and wheat and corn. Those decks are free. That cavities would be there. These cavities or empty spaces underneath the ship would be filled by wood, heavy wood.
Must be filled.
It must be filled, otherwise the ship would be capsized. Tossed, the tips will be the turbulency. The ship wreck can happen, tossing around in the waves. For stabilizing, the wood is the factor in stabilizing. And this would invariably reach the shipbuilding centers we mentioned earlier of the Mediterranean coast, mostly in Bernicay, in
Which
the Red Sea
which
coast.
type of tree were used for shipbuilding?
Annually is the
Oh.
tree. Annually, we
Wild
call it wild jack, jungle jack,
Jungle jack.
or wild jack.
Yes.
In Malayalam, we call it anjali.
Oh,
That is ideal for ship making.
shipbuilding.
That wood will not disintegrate in
Oh.
salt water, and it lasts for a longer time. It is easy to cut and then put it together, put the planks together, stitch it using coir. That also come from Kerala. Coir. No metallic pieces are used. No iron, nothing. Pure raw materials, purely from natural sources used. So shipbuilding is a transnational activity. Not only the Arabs, see these are Arab areas. The today's Saudi Arabia region, certainly is Red Sea area. Today's Egypt and Sudan region, again is the Red Sea coast, West Indies coast to Red Sea. So many shipbuilding centers were there, owned by the Romans and managed by the Romans. So the Roman ships were actually built. Roman ships called kalam are actually built in these centers using the jungle jack wood taken to these centers as raw material from India in Roman ships. So this is a very interesting cycle, right?
Then what about the trade? That is a quantum of the trade.
Presumably a huge quantity. We can imagine the present the technology, how much of global trade. Those days, everything it was not at all mechanized. Everything was based on manual labor, loading, unloading, shipment, and no major containers, nothing. So, considering these factors, the quantity, as per the Musaris papyrus, which we obtained from Alexandria a few decades ago, gives a fair indication. This is a document. This is about an indication of trade from a certain document about the merchandise traded by an individual trader. That gives indications about the items traded. Muslims paper contained items like turtle shell, nard, which is spike. Nard is spike root, musk, and all that. That is not a typical Kerala item. It is brought to Kerala from northern Indian region and exported from Kerala. Nard, that's spike root, and of course pepper, large variety, pepper, cardamom, ginger, etc. Clove, yes, of course. So all spices, and they give a description about all these things. And Pliny the Elder, the Roman, very patriotic Roman, used to lament about the loss, the huge loss incurred by the Romans because of this trade. Because Roman attitude was the extravagant, intelligent culture. For example, one item exported from Kerala was pearls. Pearl, mutta, we call it pearl. Pearl export was very, very unnecessary, import for Rome. So it is for a pompous purpose that is
Luxury item.
The one of the consuls of Roman Emperor Nero, Poppia, was wearing, and in one single ceremony, she was wearing pearl ornaments worth 100 million sesterces, a huge amount. So see, look at the quantity of money, the quantum of gold spent on the purchase of pearl, which is widely harvested from the Kerala's region, Churniya, that is Periyar, and also it comes from the Chola region also. So pearl. and also the royal women of Rome had a tendency to break pearl into dust and powderize it, and drink it with wine, Roman wine, for aphrodisiac purpose, presumably enhancing beauty, and for all these purposes. So therefore, it was unnecessary spending.
They were lavish.
Lavish. So that is why Pliny was saying, he lamented about the unfavorable balance of trade when it comes to Roman trade.
They took away diamonds and other precious
They
stones.
took away diamonds, beryls, rubies, emeralds, topaz, sapphire, all these precious stones
also.
apart from diamonds.
So all luxury items.
These are all luxury items. And also look at the spices. Again, spices. Not that they require all these spices, but spices were artificially costly.
Cost.
So it's not that it is naturally that much of cost. We come to the spices later on. So we just deal with the prices and all
You also
later on.
give
Yeah,
details.
certainly about prices on whole episode of
One more
prices.
thing here. Who benefited actually from Indians or Romans from this trade?
When the balance of payment was very much in favor of Chera, it is the Cherans that benefited because they had no input cost. They had no manufacturing cost.
Oh.
It is a four-dimensional benefit. One dimension,
No investment.
no investment whatsoever. Every product exported was a natural commodity. Nature provided pearl. Nature provided.
We made money.
We made money. Nature provided all these riches, spices and other things, tusk and everything. All that is needed is the labor. Money spent only on labor. So nature one thing. High price materials. Kerala charged because they needed it. Spices are needed desperately by the Romans. Demand was there. Therefore, we could get high prices. So one dimension is natural. The second dimension, high price and low volume and low weight. See, what volume does it consume? It is not iron and ore. It is not it's iron and steel and nothing. It is a small volume, so it's easy to manage also. And the fourth dimension, these commodities are absolutely non-perishable. Can ivory perish? Can a ruby perish? Can a beryl or emerald perish? Unperishable commodity. So it is a win-win situation for Chera kingdom, and Rome was on a losing side during the peak of the Roman trade. It was advantage India all the way.
So I think we had a beautiful picture, a detailed picture of Indo-Roman trade from Sir. Sir has offered to talk much about, give much more details about the spices in an exclusive episode, the next episode. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to us so far.